All right, everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
You know how sometimes you think you know something inside and out?
Yeah, I've definitely been there.
Like a favorite movie, or in this case, the pilot episode of Friends? We're gonna uncover some layers you might have missed.
Even if you've seen it a million times.
Exactly. We're going beyond just the jokes and looking at how it set the stage for the whole series.
Using the original transcript.
Yep, the actual script.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they introduce the characters, those first glimpses of their personality.
And those relationships that keep us hooked for years.
But here's the twist. We're not just recapping, we're digging into the details that reveal who these characters are.
And how it all started.
Right. So picture this. Central Perk. 6 friends. And a whole lot of baggage.
That's familiar.
The episode opens with Monica at the coffee shop, but she's totally on edge.
Her friends are grilling her about a date.
But she's playing it cool, trying to downplay it.
Right off the bat, we see that tension. Monica wanting control, but also being vulnerable when it comes to romance.
Classic Monica. Then Chandler comes in, all sarcastic.
All right, Joey, be nice. So does he have a hump? A hump and a hairpiece.
Oh man, classic Chandler, right?
Using humor to avoid anything emotional.
Totally. But even here, we see a hint of his own issues with romance, which play out big time throughout the series.
That's what I love about these early episodes. They plant those seeds.
And then that dream sequence, Chandler with the phone. Well, you get it.
Oh, yeah.
It's bizarre and so memorable, and it instantly shows us Chandler's humor. Awkward, quirky.
Like the writers knew from the start, this guy hides behind jokes, especially when things get personal.
It's interesting how the others react to the dream, too. Everyone claims they've had it, except Joey, who's totally lost.
Which sets him up as the lovable but kind of clueless one.
Yeah, he doesn't always get the deeper meaning or those social cues.
Right.
And just when you think it can't get crazier, Ross walks in. Like his world just ended.
He compares his emotional state to having his intestines tied around his neck.
Intense visual, right?
Very Ross.
So Ross, over the top, wearing his heart on his sleeve, he's gonna feel things deeply.
Perhaps way too deeply.
And we quickly learn why he's so upset. Carol, his wife, she left him.
And not just left him, but for a woman.
Yeah, for 1994, pretty groundbreaking for a sitcom.
Definitely. They handled a same-sex relationship with humor, but also sensitivity. It resonated with people. Showed that a sitcom could address LGBTQ plus themes without being preachy or exploitative.
And what do you think about how the friends react to this news? Joey suggesting a strip joint.
Oh, man. On the surface, it's typical Joey.
Thinking with his.
But it actually tells us a lot about him. Joey's way of dealing with stuff is to avoid complicated feelings, women, food, good times.
Simple.
He's not equipped to handle Ross's pain, so he offers a solution that, well, that makes sense to him.
But then, just as Ross has made his dramatic entrance, the door bursts open and in walks Rachel. Wedding dress, soaking wet, panicked.
It changes everything. Right then, you know Rachel's about to shake things up big time.
She just left Barry, her fiancé, at the altar.
Her reason. She realized she was more attracted to a gravy boat than to him.
That's so Rachel, isn't it? Hilarious, kind of absurd, but you get her logic. She speaks her mind, even if it comes out in the weirdest way.
Totally.
It shows how naive she is, too. Like she's just starting to figure herself out what she really wants.
And the gravy boat. Just the beginning. We're about to watch Rachel's whole journey of self-discovery. 10 seasons of it.
And comparing Barry to Mr. Potato Head?
Yeah.
Genius. We instantly get why she ran.
We never see Barry, but we get a sense of him through her eyes. Brilliant writing.
It's like they're setting us up for all the Barry drama to come.
Definitely.
What strikes me is the contrast between Rachel and Ross. They're both escaping unhappy relationships, but their reactions are totally different. Ross is wallowing, but Rachel, even though she's freaking out, she's got this spark of defiance.
Like their paths are meant to cross somehow.
Right. Even in this first episode, it's clear that Rachel and Monica haven't been close since high school.
There's that awkward moment when Monica admits she wasn't even invited to the wedding.
But even with that distance, Monica takes Rachel in without a second thought.
It says so much about their friendship, that underlying loyalty. Years of separation couldn't erase it.
It's the core of their whole relationship for the entire series, and for Rachel, it's huge.
She needs a safe space to, reinvent herself, figure out who she is outside of her old life, and Monica gives her that.
It's interesting how this one act of taking Rachel in speaks to both of their personalities. Monica, the nurturer, she needs to take care of people. and Rachel, who's used to being taken care of, but now she's about to learn about independence the hard way.
Yeah, I see that.
And we see how the friends rally around Ross, too.
During his whole divorce drama.
Even when they're teasing him about Carol, you can see they care.
Maybe not always expressed in the best way, but it's there.
Like when Phoebe tries to cleanse Ross's aura. No, don't stop cleansing my aura. Don't leave my aura alone, okay?
Oh, man. So funny.
It's hilarious. But it also says a lot about Phoebe, that quirky, new age approach to life. But her heart's in the right place. She wants to help, even if it's a little out there.
And Joey? Strip joint, come on, you're single. Have some hormones.
Classic Joey. Always thinking with his, well, you know. But I think it's deeper than that. He's telling Ross to embrace being single, explore, just in a way that makes sense to him.
Right.
Ross isn't ready to grab a spoon, to use Joey's phrase.
He's heartbroken, clinging to the idea of being married.
But it's interesting how that ice cream flavors metaphor comes back later, not just in this episode, but in the whole series.
I thought of that.
So we've got Monica figuring out her not a date, Rachel's a runaway bride, Ross is trying to pick up the pieces, and Phoebe's serenading commuters with that song about love being a giant pigeon crapping on your heart.
Only Phoebe.
It's dark, funny, and it works. It speaks to her ability to find humor in anything. She sees the world differently, and that's what makes her so essential to the group. She reminds us it's okay to be different.
I love that.
Now let's go to Ross's apartment. He, Joey, and Chandler are putting together furniture,
Yeah.
which becomes this metaphor for what they're all dealing with, trying to build something new.
But missing pieces. Literally and figuratively.
And Ross is, well, sniffing Carol's beer can.
Poor Ross.
Yeah.
He's hurting.
He's stuck in the past. But Chandler and Joey are there for him.
Even when they're teasing him.
Their banter shows how close they are, calling Ross out, but it's out of love.
It's that mix of humor, honesty, and affection that makes friends so great. It's like their family, a place where they can be themselves.
Flaws and all. Back at the restaurant, Monica's not a date seems to be going well.
They bond over heartbreak.
Paul reveals he hasn't been able to perform.
For 2 years.
Big revelation. Monica's reaction, shock, but also understanding.
It shows how compassionate she is. She sees past Paul's vulnerability, connects with him on a deeper level.
Maybe she sees his brokenness as a way to connect, which might say something about her own relationship insecurities.
Maybe.
Meanwhile, back at Monica's, Rachel's having a meltdown, leaving those frantic messages for Barry.
It's funny, but also sad.
She's struggling with her decision, trying to find her voice.
Like she's trying on different versions of herself now that she's not Barry's fiancé.
And then both Ross and Rachel are looking out their windows, lost in thought.
It's subtle, but it hints at their connection.
Even though they haven't really talked much yet, like the writers are planting the seeds for their romance.
Totally.
Rachel trying to make coffee for the first time. A disaster, but a cute one.
It shows her pushing herself, learning to navigate the real world.
She's going from princess to, well, someone who can at least try to make coffee. Chandler, sarcastic as ever, that is amazing.
He nails that delivery. Cynicism mixed with affection.
Which defines their whole relationship. Paul shows up at Central Perk, all smiles.
He compares the night to all my birthdays, both graduations, plus the barn raising scene in Witness.
Laying it on thick.
You know.
It's kind of painful how Joey misses that they obviously hooked up.
Sweet, innocent Joe.
He sees things so black and white. Monica's friends, though, they're experts at reading between the lines.
And thanks to their strategically placed table, they hear everything.
I love how Phoebe wonders if Paul sells it, drinks it, or just complains a lot about wine.
He's so Phoebe.
And then, boom, Paul admits the whole "I haven't been able to perform" thing was a lie. Monica's crushed.
It's rough. She feels rejected.
Like maybe she attracts these unavailable guys.
Right.
It's interesting how her friends react. Phoebe, the empath, offers foot massages, tells Monica not to put out bad energy, and Joey, well, he finds the whole thing funny.
Oh, Joey.
Which Monica does not appreciate. It shows how they all cope differently. Phoebe goes spiritual, Joey uses humor.
And Monica.
She internalizes it, which becomes a pattern for her. And then in walks Rachel, excited about buying boots.
Not a job offer.
John and David boots. It's so Rachel at this point, still clinging to her old life.
Pose material comfort?
She's not ready for financial independence.
Not yet.
They're my new, I don't need a job, I don't need my parents, I've got great boots.
Classic.
It shows her naivety, but also her determination.
Yeah.
But Monica, ever the pragmatist, points out that Rachel bought them with a credit card.
Paid for by her dad.
Wake-up call. This leads to that credit card scene, the one where they decide Rachel needs a gesture, to mark her entry into the real world.
It's a powerful scene.
They're all around the table, Rachel's cards laid out like a sacrifice, and as she hesitates, Rouse encourages her, "Come on, you made coffee, you can do anything."
Oh.
It's small but significant. Ross is showing his support, believing in her, even this early on.
I love that.
Then, deep breath, Rachel cuts them up.
A cathartic moment. Apprehension and liberation all at once.
It's a big step, cutting off her dependence on her dad. And it's Monica who pushes for this, showing her own independent nature. It hints at their dynamic, that support, and maybe a little competition.
Makes you think.
And then, Monica's line, "Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it." Cynical and optimistic.
Perfect tone for the show.
But then, just when we think it's over, we get that final scene. Ross and Rachel.
The one that started it all.
As Ross is leaving, he drops the bomb. "Back in high school, I had a major crush on you."
And the episode ends there.
On that cliffhanger, making us want more. Wondering how Rachel will respond. It's the first hint of their whole journey.
Which is just beginning.
So what are your first impressions of these characters? What jumps out at you about their dynamic?
Hmm.
Hold on to those thoughts. We're going even deeper in part 2.
Can't wait. Wow, so much packed into those first 22 minutes.
Right. We've met everyone, got a sense of who they are.
And seen the start of some big relationships.
But let's dig into the themes that make this episode work.
Even after all this time.
One that's so clear is starting over.
Yeah, both Rachel and Ross are at turning points.
Rachel literally runs from her wedding.
Leaving a life that was basically chosen for her.
She's stepping into the unknown, scary but also exciting.
And Ross is dealing with divorce, figuring out who he is without Carol.
It's like they both thought they'd be someone else, have a different life.
And now they have to rewrite the script.
And what's so good is it doesn't pretend it's easy.
Starting over is messy, confusing.
Full of doubt.
Definitely. But it also shows how resilient people can be.
Picking yourself up and asking, what now?
That's relatable, no matter where you are in life.
It's like the episode saying it's okay to not have it figured out, to make mistakes, to change your mind.
We all need to hear that sometimes.
Totally. And woven into that is the importance of friendship.
Right away, you see how they lean on each other.
For support, for laughs, for belonging.
Especially in a city like New York, finding your tribe is huge.
The episode really gets that.
They tease, give bad advice, but they're there through everything.
Think about how they're there for Ross after the divorce.
Maybe they don't always say the right thing, but they show up.
Just being there for him means a lot.
And when Monica's down about Paul, they listen, comfort her.
It's like they've made this space where they can be vulnerable.
Let their guard down, no judgment.
That's true friendship. And the episode balances that with the funny stuff.
Yeah, deep talks 1 minute, jokes the next.
That's what makes it feel real.
They remind us that even when things are tough, there's still laughter.
Speaking of laughter, the writers use humor so well to explore these ideas.
Witty banter, physical comedy, those perfect one-liners.
But it's never just about the laugh.
Right. It's how they use humor to deal with the uncomfortable stuff.
Like Chandler making a joke when Monica says she wasn't invited to the wedding.
It's his way of avoiding deep emotions.
And Joey with the strip joint for every problem.
So crude.
Rude. Yeah, but it shows he doesn't get those complex emotions.
Life simple for Joey.
Women, food, fun.
He doesn't overthink it.
And that contrast with Ross, who feels everything so strongly.
Which leads to some funny moments.
Oh, definitely. What about some of those lines that really stick with you?
We get Chandler's sarcasm right away.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like a date to me when Monica's saying it's not.
Classic Chandler.
Right from that line. You know who he is, his whole approach to life.
Cynical, witty.
Exactly. And Joey, with the strip joint advice.
Shows how straightforward he is.
Doesn't think too hard about it.
Nope.
Remember Rachel's gravy boat thing? So random, but it kind of makes sense.
It's like that moment you realize you're not where you're supposed to be.
And everything you thought you wanted seems, I don't know, not that important.
Right.
And comparing Barry to Mr. Potato Head.
Genius.
Right.
We instantly get why she left.
Without even seeing Barry.
The writers do so much with just a few words.
And then Phoebe singing about love being like a pigeon? Well, you know.
Only Phoebe could pull that off.
It's dark, funny, and kind of hopeful, too.
It's like she finds beauty in the weirdest places.
She's been through stuff, but she still sees the world with wonder.
Reminds us to find the joy in the unexpected.
Exactly. And Monica's saying about Paul, I just thought he was nice.
Anyone who's been fooled by someone can relate to that.
That feeling of betrayal, like you misjudged them.
We've all been there.
The episode doesn't try to give easy answers.
It just shows these complicated feelings and lets us figure it out.
And that's why Friends connects with people. It feels real.
The messiness of life, relationships, figuring yourself out.
But it also shows there's hope, that your friends are there for you.
Always.
Speaking of hitting gems, when Rachel gets to Central Perk, they're watching a Spanish soap opera.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Is there something to that?
Maybe foreshadowing Rachel's life.
Full of drama.
Yeah, like a soap opera.
It's those little things that make it so rich.
Like clues the writers left for us.
What I noticed is when Ross tells his friends, "You guys," after Joey asks what he got from the divorce.
Simple line, but it says a lot.
He's realizing what he gained is their support.
Their friendship.
It's the core of their whole relationship.
Knowing they'll be there no matter what.
That's what makes the pilot so great.
It's timeless.
It reminds us that even when life's uncertain, there's humor, connection, and hope.
And friends to help you through it.
Exactly. And that makes it just as relevant now as it was then.
Totally.
Now, before we finish this part, there's one detail I wanted to point out. Did you notice all the doors opening and closing?
Now that you mention it, I do remember a lot of scenes by doorways.
It's subtle, but I think it shows transitions.
Characters changing, moving between parts of their lives.
Yeah, like Rachel coming in her wedding dress, Ross leaving after his breakdown, even Paul after his confession.
It's like they're visually showing those moments of decision.
The thresholds they're crossing.
Wow, that's insightful.
Thanks. Happy to share these ideas with fellow fans.
Me too.
But I think it's time to move to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've got that credit card scene to unpack.
Oh.
And Ross's confession.
So much to discuss.
Stay tuned for more.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive.
It feels like we've already uncovered so much.
We have, but there's one scene we haven't really talked about.
And it's a big one.
The credit card scene.
So important. It's a turning point for Rachel.
And it shows those themes of independence, figuring yourself out.
Which run through the whole series.
Exactly.
Okay, imagine this. Rachel, surrounded by her friends, credit cards all over the table.
Scissors ready to go.
Such a powerful image.
It's like a ritual cutting ties with her old life.
She's stepping into a world where she's financially on her own.
And for Rachel, who's used to her dad's money, that's terrifying.
Remember, she almost married a rich orthodontist.
Right. Cutting up those cards is huge for her.
She even hesitates. Come on, you guys, is this really necessary?
It's a complete change in how she thinks.
She's choosing to be independent, to build a life on her own terms.
Such a strong message, especially for women trying to find their way.
It's not easy. You can see the fear in her eyes.
But her friends are amazing. They rally around her.
Each of them encourages her, talks about their own struggles.
It's like they're saying, we get it, it's tough, but you got this.
And then Phoebe, with that story about the albino windshield cleaner.
Who committed suicide.
Only Phoebe could pull that out.
It's so random, so dark.
But it's her way of saying, hey, things could be worse.
And you're not alone.
Right. And Ross, he says, come on, you made coffee. You can do anything.
Oh, love that line.
It's small, but it shows how he feels about her.
Even this early on.
He sees her potential, even when she doesn't.
He's going to be there for her, even when things get complicated between them.
Exactly. Then snip, the cards are cut.
She's taking control.
It's a powerful message. You can break free, create your own path.
Even if you start with nothing.
And of course, they make it funny.
Monica says, welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're going to love it.
Cynical and optimistic, just like the show.
Perfect.
But then, just as we're winding down, that final scene,
Ross and Rachel.
He's about to leave. Then he drops the bomb. Back in high school, I had a major crush on you.
And she just says, I knew.
What a cliffhanger.
It's brilliant. Leaves you wanting more.
Wondering what she really thinks, where their relationship will go.
The perfect ending.
It sets up so much.
And keeps us hooked.
So after this deep dive, what are your big takeaways?
I think it's amazing how this one episode lays the groundwork for everything.
We get to know the characters, the relationships, their hopes.
And those themes, friendship, starting over, finding your place.
Why Friends became such a huge hit. It's relatable. We all want those things.
Connection, laughter, knowing you're not alone.
And it shows how important humor is.
To cope with tough stuff.
These characters laugh to deflect, to connect.
It reminds us to find the joy, even when things are hard.
But here's a final thought. Thinking about Rachel and Monica's money situations.
Rachel cut off, Monica independent.
How do you think that affects their living situation as the show goes on?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Could be tension. Rachel's used to a certain lifestyle.
And Monica wants to do it her way.
But also they could learn from each other, support each other.
find a balance.
We'll have to keep watching to find out.
That's what's so great about Friends. It keeps us talking, thinking, laughing.
Even after all this time.
I know.
So that wraps up our deep dive. It's been fun exploring this episode with you.
I've loved it.
Who knows what we'll uncover next time.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep watching and keep thinking and keep those comfy couches warm.